Hey guys, I had one of my subscribers ask to make a video about why I chose the WRX over some of the other options out there. Of course, the other options are in a similar price range. I paid out the door about $34,000. So similar price range is going to be the Elantra N, which I did drive, the Sonata N line, and then the GTI. I don't think you can get a Golf R for that price. I'm not a big fan of how the GTI looks, so for me that was out. And then I really like how the Elantra N looks, but you haven't been able to tell from my other videos, I'm just a giant Sasquatch of a man. I'm a little over 6'4", almost 6'5", and in the I don't fit comfortably in the Elantra N, and then the Sonata N I don't fit at all. And I fit in the previous years. I don't think they didn't make an N for I think it was for 2021, which I fit, but in the 2021 Sonata. But what they did was they changed the roof slope, and now the roof slopes down, so my head is touching the ceiling, and I don't want to drive like that. I've got two cars. My main car that I drive most of the time is I've got a 2022 Forester Wilderness, and then the car that I drive occasionally is my WRX. So the main reason I got the WRX, one was for space. They're very, very spacious. I actually don't have the seat all the way back, even at my height, and my head is nowhere near the ceiling. So that just comfort, for someone my size, it's not, it just wasn't a good fit. Most people, like I said, most people are going to be fine. The Elantra N is an awesome car. Comparable wise, they're very similar. So it's kind of the same feeling I have for the Mustang. If I were to get one, I wouldn't get the dual clutch. I don't care if it's faster. I really enjoy rowing gears, and I said everybody feels different about what they choose, and of course it's faster, just like the 10-speed and the Mustang is faster. But there's just something about rowing gears that's fun, and I won't say that the WRX is a slow car, but it's not exactly a fast car either. And it's just, sometimes it's fun to drive a slow or a quick car fast than it is to have a fast car that you can't, that you have to drive slow. And I don't think the Elantra necessarily fits under the category of fast car either. They're both quick cars. Neither one of them are fast. If I wanted a really fast car from the start, I would have just waited and got the 2024 Mustang with the Tremec. That's going to be way faster. But it wasn't all about speed. Again, I enjoy the fun of modding cars and doing bolt-ons and having stuff like that, but it's not about having the fastest car, because if you want the fastest car, you buy a faster car, and then the Mustang with a couple $1,000s into it, it's going to be faster than I probably will ever be, at least for where I want to push my car. But I just want to have fun with my car and enjoy it. And of course, I really liked having all-wheel drive. Where I live, most of the roads are normal, but there's a handful of dirt roads and back roads, and I like being able to take my car on those roads. And if I want to, I'm not saying I'm going to take it off-roading, but I don't mind taking it down a dirt road. I have taken it down to a bunch of different dirt roads and back roads, and I just enjoy having all-wheel drive. It rains here all the time. I think the Elantra N is a very, very cool car. I just think it's a very, very cool car for people under 6 feet tall, and that's just a fact for a lot of vehicles. For instance, my wife, she loves the Jeep Wrangler. For the life of me, I cannot fit into a Jeep Wrangler. At least the new ones. I might be able to fit into a JK, but the JL, I can't fit. So there's a handful of cars that are just kind of eliminated from my arsenal of options. And of course, most big guys, of course, they like getting, Challengers or Chargers. And I've driven a Hellcat, I've driven an SRT8. I'm not a giant fan of the big body. So for me, that was out as well. And I guess the other and final point of why I chose the WRX and what kind of drew me to Subaru, Subaru wasn't playing all the games with MSRP. They weren't doing, MSRP plus $10,000 market adjustment, or MSRP plus $5,000 of, random protection that's not, that doesn't cost anything to them. So it's basically just a $5,000 markup. Where when I bought mine, I paid MSRP plus tax, and that's it. There wasn't anything extra. I initially got 2 warranties, and then later changed my mind and I canceled both of those warranties. So I ended up not getting anything extra. It ended up being, like I said, for my state tax is only $500. So it ended up only being about $34,000 for a new car. So it's not a, I won't say it's a cheap car, but it's not exactly an extremely expensive car either. And I will say that one of the biggest things is when I drove it, and mind you, when I test drove it, I did not drive, I did not drive fast at all. The sales guy was like, "Oh, you're gonna get into it?" And I was like, "No, not gonna get into it. Just want to cruise." I was just cruising with my wife, and we were going the speed limit, and it reminded me so much of, I had a 2013 Mazda Speed 3, it's a Gen 2, and it reminded me so much of the Mazda Speed. I think it was 2013. Actually, scratch that. I think I had a 2010. I had a 2010 Mazda Speed 3, but it was in 2013. But whatever. So I had a Mazda Speed 3. I loved that car. That car was my favorite car that I've ever owned. I had a Genesis Coupe that was cool, but that it didn't feel the same as the Mazda. The Mazda Speed, I did a bunch of things to it. We had, coilovers. I did turbo back exhaust, top mount, high pressure fuel pump. I got it pro tuned. It was just a fun car, and it wasn't ridiculously fast. I think with E30, I think it was like 350 wheel horsepower, but it was so much fun. I just loved that car. And then in 2017, I sold it, and I sold it for a Hyundai Santa Fe. Yeah, I know. I figured I was out of the sporty car phase and into adult cars, and I had the Santa Fe as a lease for a little while, and then I got rid of the Santa Fe, and we got a 4Runner. I had a 2017 4Runner, and I had that for about 2 years, and then I got rid of that, and then I got a in 2019 I got a 2020 Altima lease, and then this year my lease was about to be up because the market's so high. My friend's a sales manager over at the Nissan dealership. I talked to him, and they ended up buying back the car from me for what CarMax was willing to pay for it. So I got a few $1,000s back from it, and I got 30-something thousand miles out of it. So it worked out, pretty well. And then I was without a car for a little while, and I was planning on buying another adult car. I was planning on buying a Hyundai Tucson or a Palisade. I test drove the Palisade. It was too big. And then my buddy works over at the Hyundai dealership, and I tried the Elantra. Wasn't really comfortable. I tried the Sonata. I wasn't very comfortable. The Tucson was a good fit, but they didn't have a limited. So we ended up going to Hilton Head in South Carolina, and we were going to go to the Hyundai dealership. The guy that I was working with over the phone was kind of rude. And my wife was like, I don't really want to give them the business. So my wife's car was about to be, her lease was about up as well. So I was like, well, why don't we go look for a car for you instead? And she really liked Subaru. So we, beside that Hyundai dealership was a Subaru dealership. So we went to the Subaru dealership, and that's where we saw the Wilderness, but they didn't have any, but they had the orange WRX on the pad. And I wasn't even going to actually do anything. Like, I was like, all right, well, I guess we'll leave. And I told my wife, I was like, yeah, if I was a couple of years younger, probably I would test drive the WRX. She was like, you should just test drive it, just give it a shot. And I was like, I don't know, like I don't think it's like, I'm not in that phase of my life anymore. And then I started it up, and I drove it off the pad, and we went on a little cruise with our sales guy. And man, I was like, you know what? This is it. I dig it. So I told him, I said, hey, go ahead. I signed the paper, saying I'm going to buy it. And then I was like, hey, go ahead and get it cleaned up. I'll be right back. I ran to the bank real quick, got a check from my bank. I don't ever recommend doing dealership financing through the dealership, just because it saves you from them tacking on any extra charges, such as inflating your interest rate, which they can generally do by 1 to 1.5%. And then it also stops them from semi-tricking you into warranties by playing with the numbers and making you think that you're paying less for a warranty than you actually are. So I always do my own financing rather than in-house financing, unless I'm doing a lease, of course. And did my own financing, brought them a check, went to finance, decided to get a couple warranties, and then changed my mind about the warranties later. Canceled them within the 30 days, so I got a full refund. But it was a good experience, and like I said, MSRP. And then my Forester, I ended up ordering that, and same thing, I paid MSRP plus tax. There was no add-ons, no addendums, no extra junk. Even though, like I said, even though my buddy works at the dealership, if I wanted the Elantra that I don't fit well in, it was still going to be a little bit over MSRP. Not a lot. I think it was going to be like $2,000 over MSRP. And I think a lot of people pay like $5,000+ just because it's a hot car. But yes, if I was a smaller man, I probably would have got the Elantra. But the WRX is a better fit for me. So that's a really long, drawn out reason why I got the WRX. If you guys have any questions, let me know.